Breaking Bad is Vince Gilligan's modern-day classic action crime drama starring the likes of Bryan Cranston as Walter White, Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman, Dean Norris as Hank Schrader, and Jesse Plemons as Todd Alquist. The series follows high school chemistry teacher Walter, who is diagnosed with cancer, and in order to leave something behind for his family, decides to partner with former student Jesse and cook and sell crystal meth. What starts off as a quirky, hapless duo dipping their feet into the drug scene soon becomes a partnership which sends shockwaves throughout the criminal underworld, with Walt and Jesse coming across numerous colourful, dangerous characters such as Gus Fring and Tuco Salamanca. By the time the fifth and final season rolls around, Walt and Jesse have been dealing with a white supremacist group through one of their contacts in the underworld, Todd. Conflicts happen, bullets are fired, people are killed, and long story short, Jesse is kidnapped by the gang and forced to cook crystal meth for them. He, to all intents and purposes, becomes their slave, literally being chained up and kept in a cage in the ground, under the supervision of the creepy Todd. When he attempts to escape, the gang kill his innocent girlfriend as punishment and warn him that her son Brock will be next if he tries anything funny. Walt eventually frees Jesse from captivity, who is last seen in Breaking Bad malnourished, mentally broken, having gone through extreme trauma, but ultimately driving away from the place he was held captive, screaming and yelling in euphoria, possibly in triumph, grief, relief, and a huge wave of various emotions. Around 6 years after the end of Breaking Bad, Gilligan directed and released a follow-up movie, El Camino, which detailed life for Jesse after the events of the show, where he evaded cops and some of the gang of his former captives. It's a fairly small-scale story, a send-off of sorts for the character, a curtain closer with him getting a happy ending and having the opportunity to start a new life for himself. The film also delves into flashbacks during the period in which Jesse was held prisoner, showing us ways in which he was mocked, abused, and tortured for the amusement of his captors. He also accompanies Todd on a job Todd has for the duo, while the rest of the gang are away. Todd murdered his apartment's housekeeper after she found a stash of money he had hidden away, and he needs Jesse's help disposing of the body. There's an unusual type of tension in this series of flashbacks. Of course, we know Jesse kills Todd in Breaking Bad, but he will still be held captive by the end of the flashback scenes. So the kind of questions that arise are, what kind of job exactly does Todd have planned? Will Jesse make an attempt to escape? And if he does so, which he surely will, how will he be punished? There is a curious scene in the movie after Jesse has finished digging a makeshift grave for the housekeeper. Todd tells Jesse to grab another pack of cigarettes from the glove box of his car. Jesse goes to get it and sees a gun laying there. Finally, the perfect opportunity to take out Todd and make his escape. He takes the gun hesitantly and turns to face Todd, who looks taken aback in his own weird, apathetic kind of way, and asks for the gun back, even telling Jesse he was going to get pizza on the way back, telling him he earned it, asking him what kind of pizza he likes. Jesse looks uncomfortable, looks in severe pain and discomfort. There is tension, there is pause, and then he says, "Pepperoni," and hands back the gun, and after doing so has a little cry, perhaps in response of his failure to pull the trigger, stepping back from Todd as Todd approaches him and puts his arm around him and offers some words of what he probably assumed were comfort. So why exactly did Jesse not simply shoot Todd and drive away? Why did he hand the gun back? It was the perfect opportunity. Todd literally drove him to a spot where Jesse could kill him and hide the body. He even directed him to a weapon, and yet still, Jesse doesn't shoot the man, much as we're screaming at our screens for him to pull the trigger. Well, quite simply put, Jesse was just completely mentally broken. He was in a subservient role for so long, and this was just a brief spark, a glimpse of the former combative, survivalist Jesse come to life, before he slips back into his role as a slave. He's treated like an animal. Even the way in which Todd comforts him is the way you might talk to your favourite puppy. He wasn't even Jesse by that point in his life, having endured such torture and been living a miserable experience, the effects of which are highlighted by the flinches when Todd simply walks towards him. He was so far gone that there's probably as much chance he would have used the gun on himself as there was he'd use it to shoot Todd. He's broken. He's been beaten into a life of submission through torture, fear and threat, and the sociopathic, sinisterly mild-mannered characteristics of Todd only make it worse. Jesse's surrounded by pain, and even a little bit of comfort will be like a glass of icy water on a hot summer's day for him. Just a small action of his captor offering pizza is enough to win him over. In other words, he's suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, and is in a remarkably similar place, mentally speaking, to Reek in Game of Thrones. Though it's likely Jesse didn't think further ahead than him standing in a desert with a gun facing Todd, if he did start to come up with a plan, he would know he'd still be pretty screwed even if he did shoot Todd. What then? What's the plan? Which way is civilization? What happens when he gets back to civilization? He'll most likely be arrested and thrown into jail, back into a cage, so to speak. On top of this, when the gang returns, the leader Jack will see that Todd and Jesse are missing and will put two and two together, coming after him, and no doubt, somewhere down the line, either the cops or Uncle Jack is going to get their hands on him. If the cops find him, he'll rot in jail. And if the gang is first to get at him, he'll probably go back to cooking, just with a few less limbs to do so. Jesse doesn't even know if Walter is a friend or foe at this point, so he might even help Jack track down Jesse and return him to his captors, if Jesse did go to Walt for help. When Walt eventually returns and takes out the gang, Jesse is revitalized, not hesitating like in the desert now that Jack and the gang are dead, pouncing on Todd and choking him. He's freed, not just physically but mentally. The fact that Walt came back for him showed him he's more than just a slave. He's a human. He has value. He snapped out of his limbo and simultaneously recognizes that he is now in a better position to kill Todd and make his escape. But at the point in the story where the desert scene is, Jesse quite simply has no will, a complete lack of survival instinct. We know Todd survives this scene, so the real tension, the real point of the scene, is not will he, won't he shoot Todd, but to show just how broken Jesse is, when even in the moment where he is in the optimum position to kill Todd, he still doesn't do so. We know he won't pull the trigger, and we can't stand to see it. That's what this scene is about, what it's telling us, which is just how far gone Jesse is. Which makes his eventual escape in Breaking Bad and his peaceful exit of the criminal life at the end of El Camino all the more satisfying. The Jesse Pinkman of old, full of bravado and improvisation, would have killed Todd, would have driven home, grabbed the boy and driven away into the distance, but that Jesse left the building a long time ago. It's terrifying, heartbreaking to see him become this empty shell of his former self, even with the cathartic knowledge that Jesse will eventually choke out this creepy weirdo. There's also the chance the gun wasn't even loaded. Maybe Jesse was scared of the repercussions of the torture he would face if he pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. Or maybe even the entire setup was a trap and Todd planted the gun. After all, he told him to go and search the glove box, which is exactly where the gun is. Surely that's something you'd remember. But even if he didn't, or didn't think it was a big deal, it just goes to show just how broken Jesse is that Todd wouldn't think of this as a threat. It reminds me of the scene in Game of Thrones where Ramsay has the mentally broken and highly conditioned Reek shave him, or the sickening scene where he rapes Sansa in front of Reek as a kind of bravado and showcase of how much he owns Reek. Could Todd have manufactured this situation as a test of Jesse's will to see how far gone he really was? It's possible, but I think it's more likely he either genuinely forgot the gun was there, or because he is so incapable of processing the feelings of others, just didn't consider Jesse as a threat, which is shown in other methods also, like having him walk freely around the apartment or putting a shovel in his hands. But anyway, Todd may have been testing Jesse's subservience by putting him in this situation, and maybe, for whatever reason, the weight of the gun perhaps, Jesse knew it wasn't loaded, or feared this was a trap, so gave back the gun to prove his loyalty to his master after this small act of disobedience. Though this probably wasn't the filmmaker's intentions, and in any case, I think the scene is far more effective if the gun was actually loaded, meaning Jesse always had the chance to kill Todd, but just couldn't bring himself to do so. And then, of course, there's Brock, who's still out there. If Jesse manages to escape but cannot reach Brock in time, or something goes wrong and he's unable to kill Todd, the gang has already told him that the boy will be next. The last time he tried to escape, they drove him to his girlfriend's house and shot her in the head, making him watch, and told him they'd kill her son if he tried it again. In addition to the love he has for the boy, and the guilt of being part of the reason his mother died, Breaking Bad has already established Jesse is very emotional when it comes to children being harmed, and thus, the safety of the person he cares about the most in the world, aside from his family, relies on him being a good little slave, giving up his own will and focusing on doing what he's told. The alternative was just far too risky, far too scary. He was just not in a position to single-handedly kill Todd, escape the law and Uncle Jack, and protect Brock, and he would just not be able to live with himself if someone else had to die because of his actions. Or maybe Jesse just really likes pepperoni pizza. So why do you think Jesse didn't pull the trigger? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.